Good morning! So today is the first day of my surgery rotation, and that's going to be my second last rotation of clerkship in third year. I'm actually still home at this point because we are doing orientation online in the morning. And then this afternoon, I'll be heading over to the university for the second part of the orientation, where it's going to be a surgical skills session. All right, let's see how it goes. Bye!
Than for students. And of course, the first day of the clerkship and the midpoint of clerkship, there's no call. The night before you're switching sites.
Hello, so I finished the morning sessions and now I'm here at the university for the afternoon suturing skills session. Let's see how it goes. Bye! So I've only been in this particular building a few times, so I had to rely on my phone and also using the directory the old-fashioned way to try and find the room that I was heading towards. So now that I have a general idea of where I'm going, I head into the double doors here where it's going to take me to the elevators as well as the other hallways that should lead me to the area I'm trying to find. Now I'm able to find the door, but unfortunately it's locked, so gotta contact the people in charge to let me in. So hooray, we made it through the door. I'm in, and it's now time to head over to the conference room where the rest of our afternoon orientation is going to be held. And here we are in the conference room for orientation.
I mean, I can send her a message and let her know that you sent her a message asking her.
She's seen it.
She's seen it? Okay. Honestly, you'll be fine to message her again. She won't care.
Then it's time for a practical skills session, so I quickly change and head over to practice my sutures on the pig's feet that were provided for us for that purpose. Hello, so I just finished my surgical skills session this afternoon for orientation. And you know what? I managed to do something I thought I would never be able to do, and that is to get lost trying to exit the building. That's right, guys. I got lost trying to leave the building instead of trying to find something in the building. So even I was amazed at that. Anyways, it's now time to get some sleep and get ready for a bright and early start for my first official day at the hospital for my surgery rotation. All right, see you then. Bye. Good morning. So it is approximately 5 a.m. in the morning, and this is the first official day at the hospital for me for my surgery rotation. I am definitely not an early riser, but you know what? I got enough sleep, so let's see how the rest of the day goes. So rounding for surgery starts at 6:30 a.m., so I'm here a bit earlier so I can find my way around and not get lost. I have been to this hospital before, and of course it's pretty empty at this time of the day. I'm gonna head over to the elevators and figure out where I have to go to meet the rest of the team. Okay, we made it to the hospital and this light is kind of low-key scary flickering in the elevator. We're heading to the 4th floor because that's where I'm meeting my team. Let's see how it goes. So I actually requested to be on the pediatrics general surgery team because I wanted to have exposure to a different demographic of patients. But for the overnight call shifts, I go back to the adult team. So I met up with the team, got a nice free hot chocolate drink out of it, and now it's time to head over to the surgical unit for pediatrics. And now it's time to scrub in for the rest of the day and participate in all the OR cases. Let's go! Okay, so I finished my first ever day on my surgery rotation, and it was super busy because first of all, I had to do 2 different orientations, one for the adult OR and then also one for the pediatrics OR where I'm going to be mostly for the next 3 weeks. And then we did lots of cases, saw lots of different things, and that was really exciting. And now it's time to head home, get some sleep again, and that's because I have my first call shift tomorrow for the surgery rotation. Okay, stay tuned. Bye. Hey guys. So today is my second official day of my general surgery rotation. And this morning I was in the OR as usual. And then my senior resident told me to get some lunch and then head over to a different building for a pediatric general surgery clinic. So I'm really excited for that because it's a bit of a change of pace from the OR. So we'll see how it goes. And then after that, it's going to be my first call shift of this rotation. Stay tuned. So this is a pediatric surgery outpatient clinic, and I did have to walk through a few buildings before I was able to reach my destination. So here I am at the clinic waiting for my preceptor to arrive. I do enjoy the designs of the doors as they are basically an entryway to a famous landmark around the world. So now I'm done in clinic and it's time for me to head over to the adult OR so I can pick up my call room key and get ready for my first overnight call shift of surgery. So I got my key here in my hand and now it's time to walk over to the area where my call room is and figure out exactly where it is because I have no idea where I'm going. So I found the correct hallway I had to go through and it looks like it's an outpatient residence where my call room is, which is kind of interesting as it seems to be separate from everything else around the university hospital. Okay, so we are in the call room for my surgery rotation. So let's see how this looks like in comparison to my other rotations. So first off, hello. When you walk into your right side, you have a wash basin, soap, even hand sanitizer. And to the right of this, you do have some towels and towelettes, which is really handy. And I guess if you want to look your best for call, you can plug in a razor, keep yourself nice and shaved. And then you got some tissues here with a garbage can below. And then just to the left of that, we have coat hangers, we have extra toilet paper, more towels and towelettes. And I guess this rack is for if you want to hold your luggage, if you have lots of things to bring to your call shift. And then if you turn around and go to the left of the door, you've got our lights on, and then we have our washroom. And guess what? This washroom does not look to be shared. You have your own private toilet and shower. Like that is just crazy because the last few call shifts in my rotations, all my call rooms had a shared bathroom with toilet and shower. So this feels very much an upgrade. Like what is this luxury I'm living in? Amazing. And is this another light? Oh yes, that's the light that controls the washroom light, and then get more towels and towelettes. Wonderful. And then we have our standard bed here. And then beside we have a nightstand, and look at this. School pride, yes. Go U of A, amazing. And then we have a drawer which has a really random piece of rope. It's giving worm. And then below here we have more storage space. And then outlets. There's actually lots of outlets in this room. And then we have a mirror. Hi again. And I guess this must be a PA system, though I'm not going to click anything because I don't want to mess anything up. And then another amazing upgrade to this call room is that you get your own computer and phone. So in my internal medicine room, they had a phone, but they didn't have a computer. So this is really nice. And you even have a light. Let's see if it turns on. No, it does not. Oh, no, it does. Just very slowly. But look at this. You basically have an entire desk set up here. So wonderful for this setup. And of course, a rolling chair, though my backpack is occupying a space at the moment. And then finally, we have the curtains here. So I actually like these curtains because when I close them, they actually keep the room dark so that I can get sleep. Though I do wear an eye mask when I go to bed. But once we open up the curtains, look at this fantastic industrial view of the courtyard of school. Like, this is a total upgrade of a view from my other call rooms. Okay, that is my call room. But stay tuned for the rest of my call shifts today. Bye! Got paged for a trauma case kind of later in the evening, and so my job was to bring a computer so I could take notes during the CT scans. Then that same case got booked for an exploratory surgery, so I'm gearing up here and getting ready to scrub in and participate in the case. We are done the first case of my first overnight call shift in surgery. This is what the university hospital looks like at night. I think it looks really cool with all the lights turned on and kind of the natural light coming in through the glass architecture. So yeah, I know kind of random, but I just thought I wanted to share that with all of you. Phew. Man, it's been a really busy night, and I just got back here to get some food. Basically, at 5 o'clock we had handover, so I met up with the night team, and because I was saying earlier, I'm part of the pediatrics general surgery team during the day. For call shifts, I switched back to the adult surgery team, so I was meeting with that particular team. And then we had a bunch of consults to see, and then also had to evaluate some of the patients in the wards. And then we had a trauma case come in, so basically the trauma case bumped everything down the road and threw everything out of order, so we got that fixed up. And then now after this break I'm gonna go back to the OR for another case, and we're not really sure how long that one's gonna take. So I'll keep you updated and see how long things go, and if I get any sleep at all tonight for my first call shifts. Alright, bye! Okay. So it's 4:30 right now in the morning, and we just finished our last case. Basically, that last surgery I told you guys about that I was gonna go to after my break. Well, after that one, they added on another case, so that's why that took pretty much the rest of the night. So I have maybe an hour and a half of sleep before I have to head over for handover at 6 a.m. So I'm gonna grab a quick nap, and hopefully I don't sleep through my alarm in time for handover. Bye! Good morning! It is now nearly 6 a.m. so I'm gonna run over for handover. Bye! So I thought it looked okay, but apparently the rest of the team thought I looked terrible, given that we had a very long night. So my senior resident took one look at me and said, "Louisa, just go home please." So here I am packing up nice and quickly so I can head home and just basically catch up all the sleep I lost overnight during all those cases that we did. So for the next 3 weeks of me being on the pediatrics general surgery team during the day and the adult surgery team at night for my overnight call shifts, this is what I looked like for the majority of time. Wearing a head cap, eating food, drinking the free drinks I got, and then also doing lots of typing in various shapes, forms, and computers. Oh dear. Okay, I am super excited to get some sleep on my last ever call shift of third year. You're probably wondering, well, how's that so? You're not even done your rotation yet. And you're absolutely right. I'm only halfway through my surgery rotation, but the rest of my call shifts are actually not overnight. They're only until 9 p.m. And my next rotation, which is the psychiatry rotation, the call shifts are also up until 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. depending on the sites. So it's a little bit bittersweet that I'm not doing any more call shifts, because I felt like that was the time to learn lots. You got lots of time to spend with your resident or attending and really ask those hard-hitting questions. And I often found myself doing a lot more than I normally do on rounding with the big teams or just during day-to-day activities for clerkship. So it's gonna be sad to not have those same opportunities anymore, but I am looking forward to some more sleep. Okay, I'm gonna catch some Z's now, and stay tuned for next week. That's because I'm going to be going to the community site hospital for my second half of my surgery rotation. All right, bye. And that's it. That was my last ever overnight call shift of my third year of clerkship. Pretty crazy, right? Well, let's head over to the community hospital site and let's see what surprises awaits us there. Hey, good morning. So we're switching from a trauma site to a community site for the second half of the surgery rotation. So we're heading up to meet the team now. Stay tuned. So as most first days go on any hospital site, a lot of it was dedicated to orientation, So our posse of medical students, that is myself and my classmates, we did lots of walking around to figure out where we were going. We headed off to the parking office to get card access, and then we checked out the cafeteria to grab some coffee and some food before seeing what we had to do for the rest of the day. Okay, so I'm heading up to the second floor to find the OR. Me and my preceptor say hello, and then head back and get ready for the next orientation for this morning. After orientation, it was time to scrub in and get ready for the OR for the rest of the day. Okay, good morning. So today's Thursday, and it's been a pretty crazy morning basically, because what happened was the preceptor I signed up with for this week isn't in, and so my senior resident told me to go to this clinic that's located near the hospital where I'm doing my last 2 weeks of surgery in. So I went to the clinic, and the receptionist told me that the doctor I'm supposed to follow today wasn't actually in this clinic. So basically I went from the hospital to the clinic, was told that there was no one there, and was told to go back to the hospital. So now I'm walking over back to the hospital and getting a bus to take me back there. So it's been kind of wild, so I'll keep updated. But this area has been under construction for quite a while now, and so it was a maze trying to figure out where I could find a bus to take. So right now I've walked to what is apparently supposed to be the bus stop, but as you can see, there is a ton of construction going on. So I literally have no idea where I'm going, and I am definitely getting lost, even on the outside of the hospital. Okay, let's see what happens next, and if I can find an actual bus to take me back to the hospital. See you then! So thankfully that was a bus stop, and a bus came by, which is the one I needed to take back to the community site hospital. Okay, so I managed to catch the bus, which was great, and that means I'm able to get back to the hospital within a reasonable amount of time after having leaving it. So I'm gonna head back, find out exactly where this outpatient clinic I'm supposed to go to find my preceptor, and go from there. Alright, thanks for joining me on my crazy random 8 o'clock adventure of the day. Okay, so I made it to the clinic and we're finished now. It went really well. It was actually a good mix because in the breast clinic I went to, they had a mixture of consults, follow-ups, as well as minor procedures. So it was a good variety, and my preceptor was really great at teaching me important learning points, not just about the patients, but also how to speak to other physicians. So I felt like I learned a lot in clinic today. Now the plan is to get some food and then see what else I can do for the rest of the day to help out the team. Alright, see you then. So we're finishing off the week with double duty. First off, I've been assigned to a different hospital this morning by my senior resident, so I can assist the cases of a breast surgeon. Then I'll be traveling back to my regular community site hospital for my evening call shift until 9 p.m. So let's head up on the elevators and figure out exactly which floor I need to go to find the OR. So I had to walk to a different building that was attached to the original building I was in, and then take the elevator up there to this floor, and there it is, the operating room. Alright, let's head on in and meet the rest of the team for the day. Hey guys, so a bit of a change up today. I know this past week I showed you the community site hospital I was at and where I'll be for the next 3 weeks of my surgical rotation, but today my senior resident told me to come here instead so that I could follow a different surgeon, and the surgeon is going to be doing breast surgery, so things like mastectomies, lumpectomies, and some sentinel lymph node dissections. And what's really exciting is that there's no residents in this OR, so it's just a surgeon and myself, and I'm looking forward to be able to get really hands-on experience, work on my suturing skills, and get super engaged with the cases. Alright, I'll let you know how it goes. Bye! Okay, so we are done in the OR for today, but I still have to go back to the original community site hospital I'm situated at for an evening call shift. So it's now time to take the public transit. Alright, catch you later! Bye! I've always been very appreciative of the fact that most of our major hospitals are always located near a train station, which makes it very easy to access public transit. I did make a couple bus transfers though, and when I walk out it's starting to rain, which isn't great because we do have a thunderstorm watch issued for this evening. so hopefully I don't get rained on before I make it back to the community side hospital. So I book it for the bus before the rain gets heavier. Okay, we made it back to the community side hospital. So let's get ready, grab some food, and head over to my evening call shifts. Bye! So here's a random shot of the ongoing new train line project. And even though it's going to be great when it's connected to this hospital, given the track record of the city and delays, I'm not getting my hopes up for it to be finished anytime soon. So it's about 7 p.m. right now, and my evening call shift here at the community hospital site goes until 9 p.m. And so far, I've been called by my residents a grand total of 0 times. That's a terrible 0. Here we go. 0 times. And that's very different from the trauma sites where I was at for the first 3 weeks of my surgery rotation, where pretty much every living minute I was either doing a consult or scrubbing in to help in the OR. So while it's a very nice change, I'm hoping I get called soon to help up with something either in the OR or with the consults. And also I'm not spending the entire time in this spinny chair or pushing around. All right, stay tuned. Okay, so I am finished my first evening call shift at the community site hospital, and thankfully it is not raining too hard right now. Earlier there was a gigantic thunderstorm. It was raining cats and dogs, but I was on the inside, so this is much more manageable now for me to walk in. I have another call shift this Sunday on the weekend, so we'll see how that one goes. All right, see you later. Bye. Good morning. So today is the start of the second week of my surgical rotation, and I'll be following a surgeon who specializes in colorectal surgery throughout the entire week. So we're starting off by going to a clinic, and actually going to the real clinic, not the one where I had to go and turn around and take the bus back towards the hospital. So we'll see how the rest of the day goes, as well as the rest of the week. Bye! Okay, so we arrived at the clinic here. It's a health center, so there's like basically a lot of different stuff that you can go here. And we're going through the main entrance over there. So this is the clinic I was supposed to go to last week, but was told that I had to go back to the hospital. And there's 2 different clinics. There's one for breast clinic and one for colorectal clinics. And today I'm going to the colorectal clinic. So let's see how it goes and what it looks like. So guys, I literally walked the wrong way. I walked to this entrance here, and the clinic's actually all the way down here. So I gotta walk basically back to the other side of the mall. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm getting lost even in shopping centers. This is a whole new level. I thought I was at my lowest when I got lost outside of the hospital, but apparently I have no sense of direction. So let's walk back towards the other way that I'm supposed to go and get to the colorectal clinic. All right, stay tuned. So we made it to the clinic without any more problems afterwards, and here's what the clinic looks like. Pretty much what you would expect for a standard clinic, with rooms for patients, beds to lay on, with the major difference being that there are tools to visualize the rectum and also tools to band hemorrhoids. One thing I liked about this clinic's location is that it's attached to a shopping center, so during my lunch break after I finished eating, I decided to go for a nice walk to the Walmart that was nearby. So I am done my morning clinic, and we saw like a ton of hemorrhoids. Like basically every other patient was a hemorrhoid case, but at least I got to see some banding done for the internal hemorrhoid, so I found that really interesting. I am finished lunch now, and I decided to go for a post-lunch walk at this nearby Walmart because the clinic is attached to a shopping mall. So the Walmart is on the other side of the mall where I got lost earlier. And I think I should probably pick up some groceries and grab some necessities for home since I'm here anyway. So let's go shopping and then head back for the afternoon clinic. All right, bye. So I grabbed some yogurt, and then I decided to grab some detergent too, but instead I found some noodles that were randomly misplaced. And then I also checked out what were the options for cereal afterwards, which I ended up not getting. Okay, so we finished the afternoon clinic, and surprise, surprise, we got to see even more hemorrhoids, but I still got to do some histories on pilonidal cysts, rectal cancer, and just a bit more variety, so that was nice. So the rest of the week will be in the OR and also doing colonoscopies. So stay tuned for that. Bye! So the next day I was with this colorectal surgeon. We spent the entire day performing colonoscopies and sigmoidoscopies. So that was cool because I haven't really had the chance to see a colonoscopy per se. I have seen endoscopies during my shadowing sessions I did in second year. So this was a brand new experience, and we definitely had a really good discussion and learning about colorectal cancer and screening and whatnot. Then the rest of the days I was with this colorectal surgeon. We spent in the OR, and I have to say my back definitely hurt quite a bit in some of these cases because they were often these anterior resections, and those were like a few hour cases. So I definitely got some back pain from standing for such a long time. Try not to break sterile field inside the OR. I was also busy with extracurriculars outside my studying and the OR just before my exam, because perfect timing. So I attended my brother's performance in a musical theater called And the Tony Award Goes To. I also attended my friend's wedding, where I was the violinist and performer, and so here I am playing for their wedding. And of course, being that I had an exam literally the next day after the wedding, I had to sneak in some studying in between my performances. So shout out to Apple AirPods Pro 2 for the noise cancelling feature. It definitely was so useful with this noisy background. So yeah, that was pretty much the entirety of my surgery rotation, and here are my thoughts. Hey guys, so it's my last week of my surgery rotation, and today's actually my last call shift. And I wanted to share kind of my general thoughts, impressions, and maybe some advice for those who are starting off their surgery rotation on how it went. So if you recall, I started on a trauma site hospital for the first 3 weeks of the rotation, and then midway through we switched over to a community site hospital. Now the scheduling might be different depending on how it works out. Some people will start with a community site and switch over to a trauma site versus myself, which was the opposite way around. It was a very eventful and wild 6 weeks of surgery. So going to surgery, I really wasn't sure how different it was in comparison to, say, obstetrics and gynecology, which had some aspects of procedures involved with the C-sections and the gynecological cases. And I thought that for surgery, I'd be spending every day in the OR. That was kind of my impression, but that wasn't really always true because yes, I did spend quite a bit of time with surgeons and residents in the operating room, that's the OR. But I also had a chance to experience the full variety surgery had to offer. Sometimes I would be in clinic doing some follow-up appointments or minor procedures with my preceptors, and sometimes I was able to do things like endoscopies and colonoscopies and observe them. And even within the community site hospital here, they can do more complex minor procedures that can be done in the office, and I was able to observe that and sometimes even assist with that. So I thought that having that variety made surgery much more interesting. I really liked being able to get involved in different aspects of it. Another thing that might not be exactly medical school related or advice related is I got a lot of free drinks on this rotation in comparison to basically every other rotation I had. The residents and the staff / attendings were super generous, especially if we had 6 a.m. rounds or if we did a weekend call shift. They were always trying to find ways to get us food and to give us drinks, and when having to start rounding at 6 a.m. in the morning, which is much early compared to the other rotations I've done at this point, having a delicious drink in my hand, case in point, is always nice to start off the day and when things get really busy and tiring. Now, I didn't drink Coke necessarily at 6 a.m. in the morning, but it's nice to get a bit of caffeine in when you have a long day going on. I also got to work on my suturing skills a lot in surgery, naturally, but I felt that before this rotation, I wasn't really sure about my skills. And while I had some practice in both family medicine for the rural rotation, as well as the obstetrics and gynecology rotation, I mostly practiced on silicone pads in my suturing kit at home, and maybe a few patients if I was lucky that we did some sort of laparoscopic surgery. and I would have the chance to close the lap ports, is what we call them. So when I had this chance, as you remember earlier in the video, to work with this breast surgeon one-on-one, I was very appreciative of the opportunity to have that surgeon allow me to do a lot of closing sutures, not just the lap port sutures, which we didn't do at all. These were full-on simple interrupted sutures and subticular sutures done together. And that surgeon also showed me a few different knots that I had learned in theory in the textbook, but really hadn't had the chance to practice practically on a patient, just on a silicone pad and in my suturing kit. So I felt much more confident in developing my suturing skills. And I think it's important that when you're on your surgery rotation, that you find out which surgeons are more known to willingly engage students to do more and get them to participate more and do more procedural skills in the OR, so that you feel engaged and you feel like you're able to gain confidence and develop your skills in safe environments, which I definitely felt on that particular day. So all in all, after 6 weeks of surgery, I have to say I had a ton of fun. I'll admit I was a bit nervous coming into this rotation because I hadn't had a ton of OR exposure. For sure I had some in obstetrics and gynecology, but I knew this rotation, or at least my perspective of this rotation, was it would be very OR dependent. And yes, I did spend a lot of time in the OR, but again, as I said earlier, it was really nice to have variety and different kinds of exposure through clinics, consults, endoscopies / colonoscopies, and other minor procedures. And everyone here genuinely wanted me to learn something wherever I was, and was very supportive and was willing to teach. And I think that's just really important as a medical student, to have lots of exposure and to have people who are rooting for you and wanting you to get the best out of the rotation, which I definitely felt. And I mean, it doesn't hurt when you get free drinks all the time too. So thanks everyone here for an amazing time in surgery. I definitely can't wait to get involved again in certain ways with the field here. And next up is my last rotation of clerkship. Isn't that wild? I can't believe that so many months have passed by. I'm almost done my 3rd year, and we have psychiatry, the last rotation left before I move on officially to 4th year and the final year of my MD program. If you like this content, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for Lulu MD. Alright, see you next video.